We are reviewing the first episode of Goosebumps, The Haunted Mask, is a 43-minute long story about Carly Beth. The episode begins with Carly Beth and her friend Sabrina discovering a mask in a store. They get scared of the mask and decide to leave, but a strange man watches them from the window, setting the eerie tone for the episode. We find out that it's Halloween, and the two girls are quickly frightened by the local boys, which they obviously don't enjoy. At first, it's not entirely clear if the main character's name is Carly or if her full name is Carly Beth, but it later turns out that her full name is Carly Beth. Carly Beth is often bullied by the boys because she's easy to scare. Even her friend Sabrina takes the opportunity to frighten her, which Carly Beth doesn't like. She absolutely doesn't want to be the target of pranks and teasing anymore. There is a strange man who follows them. He remains a bit mysterious and creepy throughout the episode. At home, Carly Beth is confronted by her mom, who notices she looks worried. It turns out that her mom makes masks, and she's even made a mask of Carly Beth, which is pretty strange. Carly Beth constantly sees weird things, like masks moving, which feels familiar. I've sometimes had the sensation that things around me move too. Her mom has made a duck costume for her for Halloween, but Carly Beth doesn't want to go as a silly duck. She wants to wear something scary, not childish. Even her little brother scares her, which we will later come back to. The next day at school, the bullying intensifies as the boys target Carly Beth once again. To make matters worse, they ruin her lunch by putting a worm in her sandwich. The entire class laughs at her, including a clown. Carly Beth has had enough. In a fit of frustration, she rips apart the duck costume her mom made for Halloween. Determined to find something scarier, she gathers all her pocket money and storms out to the mask shop from earlier in the episode. When she arrives, the strange shopkeeper seems caught off guard by her sudden visit, which only adds to the mystery. After a brief conversation, he reluctantly allows her to choose a mask. The shop is filled with all kinds of intriguing masks, but one in particular stands out: the terrifying mask from the episode's title. The shopkeeper becomes visibly uneasy and tries to discourage her from taking it, acting more and more strange as she gets closer to the mask. Despite his warnings, Carly Beth is determined. She grabs the mask and runs out of the store, but to her surprise, the man doesn't follow her. When home, Carly Beth is putting on the mask at home, and we get a POV shot from inside the mask. First, she scares her little brother, and we notice that her voice changes. Her brother asks her to take the mask off, but she struggles to do so herself. We notice as an audience that the mask is haunted. Carly Beth goes outside with the mask on, and she takes the mask that her mom with her face on. Later on, we see that this mask becomes important. It's Halloween night, and she frightens some little kids. She starts becoming a cringe lord, embracing the transformation. The acting is quite cringe, I must say. We see her going to Sabrina's house. Carly Beth and Sabrina plan to get revenge on the bullies. Sabrina repeatedly mentions how real the mask feels and that Carly should take it off, but Carly gets angry and attacks her with some weak punches. It's pretty cringy. We hear her voice shift from normal to a monster-like tone. After a discussion between them, she loses Sabrina and decides to go on her own. We then see the bullies at the cemetery. Carly Beth finds them and forces them to apologize to the mask that her mother made, referring to the mask that her mother made as Carly Beth. It becomes clear that the haunted mask is slowly taking over Carly Beth's true self, and her own identity is getting buried by the haunted mask. One particularly creepy scene shows Carly Beth mask desperately asking for help, but the haunted mask becomes more cringeworthy. The haunted mask overtakes her and decides to bury the Carly Beth mask in the process. Sabrina eventually confronts Carly Beth about her strange behavior and takes her home. Carly Beth tries to remove the mask, but it's impossible. The mask seems to have no beginning and is part of Carly Beth's body itself. They try to cut it off, but that would damage the real Carly Beth. As Carly Beth steps outside, she's confronted with one of life's biggest philosophical questions. What are you supposed to be? By some random girl, and Carly Beth answers, I am supposed to be me, but I am not. And the group of people start walking away, avoiding her because they don't want to deal with her deep existential thoughts. She goes to a store and asks the shopkeeper for help. The shopkeeper reveals that the mask is actually a real face, and he talks about how the masks were once beautiful but became twisted over time. He also explains that no one liked the masks except for Carly Beth, who was the only one who truly loved them. The shopkeeper confesses that he created the masks because he once felt like her. Suddenly, the other masks come to life and attack the shopkeeper, singing, "Join us, Carly Beth." Carly Beth heads back to the cemetery where the original Carly Beth mask is buried. She digs it up and declares that the Carly Beth mask is her true face. This moment symbolizes her acceptance of herself, and with that, the haunted mask comes off. This symbolizes the lesson of the episode, that one must accept who he truly is and not pretend to be someone else. In the end, Carly Beth returns home and hugs her mom, but we see her little brother putting the mask on as the episode closes. Overall, this episode definitely falls into the cringeworthy category. The acting isn't exactly top-notch, and there are a lot of moments that feel awkward or forced, but in a way, that's part of its charm. The real standout, however, is the mask itself. It's incredibly well designed, with lifelike facial expressions that give it an eerie, almost unsettling presence. You can really feel the mask's creepiness as it slowly takes over Carly Beth, and that adds a level of depth to the show that you wouldn't expect from a kids' series. As for the special effects, they aren't the greatest, and some moments may seem a little outdated, but you have to keep in mind that this is an older kids' show. At the time, these effects were impressive for what they were trying to do. Watching it now, it's clear that technology has come a long way, but there's a certain nostalgic charm in the simplicity of it all. You can almost see the effort that went into creating something so visually striking with the limited resources they had. Despite all the awkwardness and cheesy moments, there's a surprisingly meaningful message at the heart of this episode. It's about self-acceptance and the danger of losing yourself in an attempt to be something you're not. While it may be a bit heavy-handed at times, it's still a great lesson for kids. It reminds us all that it's okay to embrace who we are, flaws and all. The episode takes us on a journey through Carly Beth's struggle with her identity, showing how the mask not only distorts her outward appearance, but also begins to affect who she truly is inside. By the end, when she finally removes the mask and accepts herself, it's a really powerful moment. So, despite the cringe, the bad acting, and the sometimes questionable effects, I think this episode actually does a great job of delivering a positive, valuable message. It's a lesson about self-acceptance, which is something we could all stand to remember, no matter how old we get. In the end, I'd give this episode a solid 7 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's got a lot of heart, and the deeper themes definitely make up for the more cheesy aspects.